Welcome to Prime Cohesion. Please join us as we move forward in this endeavor. We hope you join us for some banter and laughs as we touch on the real life topics that united us. Please be advised, content can be mature in nature and disturbing to some. We're not always the experts, but we strive to do our part to bring awareness to subjects that matter to us and provide support when we can. Let me introduce your hosts, Jason, Smitty, and Tater.
So, it's a big handoff, apparently.
Huh?
So there was a big handoff trade, apparently.
Yeah, so that was going to be the topic of conversation tonight. The Victor Bout, Brittany Griner swap. I figure we pepper in a little bit of talk about Paul Whelan. I pulled up all this. I pulled up everything on Wikipedia for the sake of getting all the information from the same site.
Sure. Yeah, I read everything on Wayland last night on there.
Yeah.
And then I read everything on Bout.
Okay. Well, let's preface this real quick. We'll get the pleasantries out of the way. I just want to say for the record, for everybody listening. All right. So the whole topic of Brittany Griner, we're going to be talking about basically just the swap. We're talking about the 1-for-1 swap. I really don't want to get into Brittany Griner's past and the way she was with the whole Her in America thing. This is more just about the arrest. In my mind, I just want to talk about basically the arrest and all that up front. So you understand what I'm saying? I don't really want to get into the whole.
I really don't care about her background.
I don't either.
Barely know anything about her.
And in my mind, so they convicted her of cannabis possession, but either way, she was supposed to do 9 years hard time. And so for the record, in my mind, nobody should be doing 9 years hard labor for something as minor as that, in my mind. Do I think she should have been punished? Yeah, but I think the punishment or held accountable to the extent of they should have just deported her ass, in my mind. Just deported her and told her she couldn't come there and make money no more. You know what I mean? I don't think it should have been a 9 years hard labor charge. What say you?
I don't think so either, but I also don't know their laws. I wouldn't have guessed that it was illegal over there. I figured hash and marijuana is probably legal, but I'd be completely wrong.
Yeah,
I will say this. If I was traveling to Russia, I would probably look into it.
So she was found carrying a vaporizer cartridges containing less than a gram of hash oil. And she does in Arizona, apparently. She has been prescribed medicinal cannabis, which is illegal in Russia, which in my mind, she should have known. She'd been going back and forth to Russia making money for
about a decade.
6 years. She's been traveling there since 2016.
Yeah. So she at least, it had to have been on her radar. She had to know something. If you've been spending time over there for that long.
Yeah. And then the other question is, did she do it on purpose? Do we really know that for a fact? Like maybe she forgot they were in her bag.
Well, it's possible. But you can't, it was less than a gram and they were busting her on smuggling charges. So to me, she was a pawn. They nabbed her.
Politicized.
Yeah.
She was an easy target.
Yeah, they pulled that shit on purpose. I think Russia did. Now, I think we should have been doing everything we could to get her out of there within reason. I, for the life of me, can't figure out how this was a good trade. Considering, if you just look at the face of it, let's look at just the face of it. Victor Bout is a genuine and credible threat to us as a nation, period. Brittany Griner is no freaking threat whatsoever to Russia. None.
Right. It's all politics.
Yeah.
That.
So the only good thing, I talked about this with Jason a little bit. The only good thing I could see coming out of this would be if Putin, from what I heard it somewhere that Putin doesn't really like Bout because he thinks he opened his mouth, I think. So the only good thing I think that could come of this would be if Russia wanted him back so they could kill him. You know what I'm saying?
Well, according to the media outlets, he's already been inserted into the upper chamber of the commerce over there, which is like Congress to us, I believe. And he's well back into the click of things. Now, how true it is, I don't know.
Back into his merchant of death ways?
I would guess.
He was. It came across as if he was celebrated coming back home to Mother Russia for a mission well done.
Well, there's no telling. I mean, because he worked out of that area and just constantly moved around. And there's no telling how much he was probably paying Russia or whoever, someone, so that they wouldn't prosecute him. You know, I'm sure he was breaking plenty of their laws.
Well, he's peddling their arms, more than likely. Right. So they were making a profit off of it without having to get their hands dirty with the international scene, because he was handling that business for them on their behalf, more than likely.
Yeah. I mean, you kind of like, he's a bad guy. I mean, they made a movie about him, for Christ's sake. Terrible movie, but...
Yeah, this is just more incompetence on this administration of not making something happen without giving up a valuable asset.
Well, they didn't negotiate at all. I think Russia was like, this is who we want. But at the same time, a lot of them believed that, hey, you went and rescued her for crimes. You got people locked up for years and years and years here. Same thing.
Yeah.
So you going to let them out? I've heard that argument a lot.
Yeah.
I haven't heard that one yet, but yeah, you have a very good point.
A lot of people have been screaming that. And a lot of the people I've seen that have had reactions to this have been kind of shocked. Like, they see the first part of it where it's like, hey, they released Brittany Griner, and they're like, yay, woohoo, all right, about time. That was ridiculous. This, that, and the other. Then they see who they exchanged her for, and they went, well, wait a minute. We did what?
Yes.
Who did we let out? Yeah, according to, it's already on the Wikipedia page, actually, about Victor, that he has joined the LDPR, the Liberal Democratic Party of Russia, on December 12th. Now that he's back, he supported the Russian invasion of Ukraine and said that he would volunteer if given the opportunity and skills. And then that was on the 9th. And then on the 12th, he said they announced that he had joined the LDPR, which I'm sure that inserts him, like Jason said a minute ago, inserts him into this one way or another.
Yeah, puts him right back into the front end of the clique.
Yeah.
I think it's worth noting that he was in the Soviet military. So he has ties to all these people.
Oh, yeah. He the information available for him, it sounds as if he's a very intelligent individual. I think he spoke 5 languages. So he had a very high aptitude. So he's obviously a dangerous individual.
Yeah.
Okay, Smitty, so let's tie in Paul Whelan into this conversation.
I don't know if anybody really knows his true background. I don't know it, because there's a lot of, like Jason was talking, me and you talked about it a little bit. Like, this whole Wikipedia page is kind of whitewashed with a lot of
my point was
rhetoric.
When you read the history of this gentleman, it reads like a washout. And I mean it politely, because I don't know for a fact, but you could write a movie for Hollywood for this guy.
Yeah,
I mean, that's how it reads.
He's he's older than me. He's a couple years older than me. He's 52 now. He got out on a bad conduct discharge, according to the Wikipedia page. He got out on a bad conduct discharge back in 08, I believe, for multiple counts of related to larceny. And he was sentenced to 60 days restriction, reduction to pay grade E4, and they kicked him out.
Yeah, and that reads, and no one knew about any of that. It didn't appear. I mean, maybe it did happen, didn't happen. I don't know. But the whole thing, the way you read it, after he was arrested, it was like the United States washing their hands of an asset to dissolve liability. And I could be 100% wrong, but it reads like a Hollywood story.
Well, I've heard of a lot happened quite a bit over in Iraq. What he's accused of, and that
makes it convenient. And that's
what they
point.
Convicted him of. And he had access. Attempted larceny, 3 specifications of dereliction of duty, making a false official statement, wrongfully using another social security number, and 10 specifications of making and uttering checks without having sufficient funds in his account for payment, which I know every Marine I ever served with bounced a check. But actually, my buddy bought freaking 43-inch tires for his Chevy and then bounced a check for a freaking Domino's pizza. Anyway.
Yeah.
So.
But it all just reads like this is perfect.
Yes and no.
This is perfect. This is perfect.
You never know.
His line of work fit perfectly. He traveled in and out of Moscow a lot. He befriended people over there. He's an IT guy. Then he gets caught with this.
Oh, it reads he's a spy, is how it reads.
It reads like a Bond flick. It's crazy. And then
you think there's a conspiracy? Like the history of the larceny is a trumped up history?
I don't think so. I think it's true. And see, one of the things that, now this is just me going off on my own tangent here about him, but when I read this, because everything I just read about what he did and how he got kicked out on a BCD, a bad conduct discharge, and then went back immediately to his job. He went to, I think it's Kelly Services or whatever is what they put in here. But anyway, he went back to basically a security director job after a bad conduct discharge, which is surprising. But anyway, and then the CI saying we would never leave a guy over there, blah, 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 who did this. And number one, number two, he's not the kind of person that we would know. He's exactly the kind of person that you're looking for. Yeah. Somebody who's willing to do what he did, but he got caught. But so it sounds almost like, in my mind, Tater, that just like a Mission Impossible thing, he got caught over there doing what he was doing, and they just disavowed him.
Let me read you this.
We don't know anything of him.
His arrest comes less than 8 months after Russian national Maria Butina pleaded guilty in the United States District Court for the District of Columbia for spying on the United States.
Yeah, and then he was given somebody, if I read it right, he was given somebody that came over there because he had access. He was giving them a tour of the Kremlin or something over there.
Yeah, when they picked him up, he was over there for a wedding.
Yeah, and that's when he got freaking jammed up for having that USB drive that he thought had wedding pictures.
And then they come to find out the guy that was in the hotel room with him was his friend. Come to find out, if this is true or not, was an FSB officer. So the whole thing is just, you already got the script. Just do the movie.
Yeah.
No, he knows the deal. I mean, he's a former police officer, former Marine. He's in security services at
even
corporate
that
level. So he has an understanding.
Is questioned during, like, if you read his wiki anywhere, because they said he was a police officer in 1988 to 2000 as a police officer in Chelsea, Michigan, and as a sheriff's deputy in Washtenaw County. The Chelsea police, however, said he worked in lesser roles and as a part-time officer from 90 to 96, while the Washtenaw County sheriff reported no record of his employment. And then a former colleague said he was a patrol officer from 98 to 2000 in Kego Harbor Police Department. And then he was a IT manager all of a sudden for Kelly Services Staffing Company from 01 to 03. And then 08 to 2010, right when he got kicked out of the Marine Corps. But then when he got picked up, he was working for Borg Warner, which is a huge freaking company.
And this is based on Wikipedia information.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, even in the
news reports, it says it mentions
he worked for Borg Warner. Yeah. Borg Warner Security Corporation, which, I mean, you're talking about a $14.8 billion company.
I do love how they throw out that he supported Donald Trump in the 2016 election. That when Trump
they're
won,
saying that's why he didn't.
It was mentioned in one of the reports that Trump denied the exchange for
him
over the
Victor bout.
Yeah.
Well, there was speculation because when was it? It was in April. We traded somebody else.
Yeah, we swapped someone for the Maria Butani.
Either way, we traded somebody else instead of Wheeling once before. Another Marine. They got another Marine out of there in April. You're thinking of Maria Butina. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, they swapped her for somebody or they just released her. I'm not sure. Either way, it's very convenient, the timing of all that.
Yeah. But in my mind, yeah, I guess when it's all said and done, hey, great, we got her back. She was American. Glad we got her out of there. She shouldn't have been doing 9 years hard labor for some idiotic shit. But I just can't see this being good for us. Him being back in the world.
It's only good for people in the know.
Yeah.
That's it. The guy's going to go back to doing what he was doing. He was really hard to catch the first time. Very hard to catch. They actually caught him in Thailand.
Yep.
He's not going to stay still for long. Once he gets his hands, I'm sure he's got a couple $1 million buried somewhere. So as he gets his hands on his money, he'll be up and running.
Well, a guy like that also.
And he's got the backing of the Russian government.
And he's got clout.
The way it looks.
I'm sure he's feared in his circles. You know what I mean?
He kind of looked like a scary guy.
So I wouldn't want to. You know what he reminds me of is the UFC fighter. He's got a brother who fought too. Emelianenko.
Yeah. He also allegedly supplied arms to the Northern Alliance in Afghanistan.
Yeah, he's all about the Soviet Union, former Soviet Union. He was obviously he was all on board with that, which I'm sure, now that I think about it, I don't know why Putin wouldn't like him.
Oh yeah, that's his boy.
Yeah.
But, you got this statement from Putin in his year-end address. He told the media, the law of retaliation of states, an eye for an eye or a tooth for a tooth. We will not arrest innocent people simply to exchange them for someone else to later on. We are speaking specifically about Maria Butini. He said, I do not understand why they put her there in the first place. There's simply no grounds for it. Then shortly thereafter, the Marine is picked up in Moscow during a wedding.
Yeah. Oh, that's who I'm thinking of. We had captured a pilot named Konstantin Yaroshenko, I guess. And we released Yaroshenko in exchange for a Marine Corps veteran, Trevor Reed, in April. That's who I was thinking of. He was arrested in 2019 for, I guess, violence against a Russian police officer. And they gave him 9 years in prison. And they said that was basically politically motivated as well. But they were talking about exchanging Wheeling then, and they didn't. They passed him over and got Trevor Reed, another Marine.
Definitely interesting to me.
Yeah.
There's a lot
This whole thing brought a lot of things to light. You know what I mean? But all right, what do you guys think about the argument? Here's the other argument about this is Russia got this notorious huge arms dealer, the Merchant of Death, back because of a high profile celebrity, quote unquote, celebrity was in prison over there. There's a lot of argument now to the fact that, well, now the rest of the world knows all you got to do is steal a celebrity, put him in prison, and you probably get whoever you want back out. You know what I mean? So how does that play, you think?
I don't know. Who did Obama? Who did we exchange those terrorists for, Jason? Remember, they let a bunch of guys out of Guantanamo.
Out of Gitmo?
I believe they just turned them loose.
Okay, never mind.
Yeah, because everybody was all up in arms about everything that was going on at Gitmo. We were treating the terrorists bad, so we had to let them go.
Yeah.
Something to that effect, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I got slightly different thoughts on
Yeah, I'm sure
that.
we all do. I just wanted, the main thing I wanted to get to about the whole prisoner exchange was everybody's thoughts on that, and not really get into the background of what I really think about her as a person. You know what I mean?
I got you. It's definitely not an even exchange. I think we can all agree on that.
Yeah. And to be this politicized and this, I'm sure a lot of this kind of stuff, prisoner exchange and stuff like this happened even back in the 60s, 70s, 80s. But until social media, nobody really knew. It was all, but now you got higher ups in Washington. You got Congress members, you got senators, you got just lobbyists and people like that are just in the know in Washington and in and around politics that catch wind of this stuff. And then the second they know about it, they put it out there, they make one tweet. Now the whole world is talking about shit they have no fucking idea what they're talking about.
But that was kind of my point when all this came out, right? About Paul Whelan. Like, everybody was mad, like, when it first came out. It was almost like, I don't get it. Nobody knew who he was.
No. And they were like, oh, they got this hero. And I'm like, well,
yeah,
might want to look into his background a little
bit. we left a hero behind.
Because a lot, yeah.
Here it is, Taylor. I found
not only that, he was an administrative clerk in the Marines. Now, I'm not taking away his military service.
Yeah, he was
to
IT.
Iraq, whatever, but he was an IT guy.
Obama released several of the top Taliban leaders that we had rounded up and exchanged them for Robert Bergdahl.
That's right.
The
deserter converted.
Yep.
He ended up facing, did he ever end up facing charges here for that?
I don't recall the full story.
I think when the desertion stuff started coming out, it got swept under the rug real quick.
And it's funny how that happens.
Yeah, I knew it was somebody. I remember.
Your memory was correct.
Like, and that wasn't an even trade because it was like 4. What was it? 4 or 5?
4 or 5. Yeah.
For one.
Who was it? It was Robert who?
Bergdahl.
Marine, correct? Or Army?
I don't remember the branch at this point, but I believe the short story was he deserted from base.
Bergdahl was captured after deserting his post on June 30th, 2009. He was exchanged in May 31st, 2014 as part of a prisoner exchange for 5 high-ranking Taliban members released from Guantanamo Bay. I don't want to get into the rest of those specifics, but yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't get that. I don't see what we stand to gain from any of this or even that exchange, either exchange.
Well, that was
especially right now with Ukraine and everything else going on.
Well, besides political points on one side of the aisle for Biden, that's it.
I think that's all it was. Community. I think it was political pressure in this climate, this woke ass climate. You got to go get her. Do whatever it takes. If it was so, I heard that argument 100 times when she first got detained. And you notice how the whole public and everybody's interest in it kind of waned off after a while until they found out she was she's starting to come back. But either way, everybody was just hollering. If this was Kobe Bryant or Shaquille O'Neal or somebody like that, we'd have had her back in a day. And I was like, I'm not really sure we would have.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Yeah. But you remember what I don't remember who said it when I think it was Dennis Rodman was rubbing elbows with the North Korean little man.
Yeah, Kim Jong-un.
I think
Or
he was
Hill.
flat out told if you
Whichever one.
get your ass in trouble, you might not be coming home.
Yeah.
The little guy loved Dennis Rodman.
Yeah, he did.
Whatever the deal was.
Crazy American.
They were good friends. They were really good friends.
Hey, I still think that mine's correct. He's shooting at Godzilla out there.
Shooting at something, that's for sure. Anyways, gotta go, fellas.
All right,
Later,
man.
dude.
Please, if anybody has any questions or comments, hit us up at primecohesion@gmail.com or head to our Facebook page at Prime Cohesion on Facebook and leave some comments. We'd appreciate it.